I love you. Welcome back, everybody. This is the only Disney voice I can do, and by God, I am tired. I'm just tired of the Disney War era.
I'm tired of these packaged films too.
Oh my God, we're coming at you with yet another one, Couch Potatoes, with Melody Time. Welcome back. I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
And I am the Faceless Leon. I'm just now contemplating, having the existential crisis of how I do a podcast without a face.
Telepathically.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was I asked that episode 1, I think, and that was your quick wit
right,
came up with.
Well, I'm messing up my own lore here.
Well, being a telepath kind of makes you forgetful, so.
That's right. Yeah, there's too many thoughts at once. You're right.
Yeah, you're just going crazy.
I forgot that I was telepathic.
The government beat it out of you.
Yeah.
Wait, were we both quarantined by the government, or was
we were
it just me?
We were together in the same bunker.
Okay.
Because the government has very limited spacing.
Yeah, well, I just wasn't sure if I was if you had telepathically fucked with my mind to remember you being there, or if you were actually there.
Oh, I forgot.
Fuck.
This is a podcast about movies and TV, and we're doing our Disney playlists.
Are we now? Melody Time. This is what they're like 5th or 6th packaged film, and the last ones have been here's 3 little shorts, and or here's 4, here's 2. This one's hey, we're going back to 7. I'm just damn it. It's I want to watch a 40-minute film and get this over with. I don't want to sit through an hour and 20 minutes of this nonsense.
And there are some good pieces. There are ones that I enjoyed, but altogether I didn't feel like any one of the pieces really were.
They're forgetful. They're all so forgetful. I'm looking at my
notes. I watched it twice.
I only watched it once, and it was a few days ago. So I'm looking at my notes, and some of the story titles I don't remember, but it's as I see the story title, it comes back to me, and it's oh right, that one's about a little bumblebee, or it's I get it, but it's so damn forgetful. They're just I mean, to be fair, I think Disney was literally just using this to make money for better films. The next era is funded from these packaged films. So it did the job.
That makes sense. And all the people who were working for them were gone, for the war effort.
Yeah, or doing other stuff for the government, because the government really loved Disney, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading a biography on FDR, and I found out that he liked to watch a lot of movies. Every Saturday evening he would set up a home theater at the White House or something, and watch. And the Disney shorts were always a mainstay. Apparently, he would always show at least one Disney short. So it makes sense that they would buy Disney to make some propaganda films. Well, not buy Disney, but ask Disney to make some propaganda films, because he apparently really liked Mickey Mouse.
I feel honestly, I think Disney obviously was coming up enough to be able to make his own feature-length animated films, but I still think this is rather early in his tycoon career. So if the government came to me and was hey, we want you to write D&D stuff for the government, I'd be yeah.
I would be cautious. It would depend on the administration for me.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah,
right now I might be hell yeah.
Yeah, last year I might not have.
But yeah, let's get into it. What was the first one? Once Upon a Winter Time. What I wrote down, again, I'm sorry, most of this I forget. I do remember it. This one came back to me when I read it, but this is what I wrote down to help me remember it. Stupid woman wanders out onto thin ice and has to be rescued by devoted and caring wildlife. Music by Francis Langford. Oh, also, I also wrote down that Frances Langford was a musical entertainer for the troops. She toured with Bob Hope quite a lot. So that was a fun little tidbit that I researched off the side of this film that had nothing to do with the short.
Yeah, nothing. Well, I mean, Frances Langford was in it. I have to say, I forgot that this short had lyrics, but Obviously,
Right.
it does if she was singing.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
Right.
All I remember is the animation. I do remember the animation because I thought the animation looked freaking great.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, it was pretty good. So, what you wrote down, like, I'm not going to say it was inaccurate, but I think we're missing what the actual story was for the people who haven't seen it, is there's a couple ice skating, and they're being mirrored by this little bunny couple, which that's pretty cute. Then they get in an argument for some reason. I don't recall. And that's when she goes on the ice. And then it's honestly like an adventure after that, because the ice breaks and it's a daring rescue, and that's the end of it.
Right. But I mean, like, the parts I really remember is when she's walking towards the thin ice and there's like three signs that are pointing at it being like, thin ice, like, be careful. And like the rabbit's running in front of her and the rabbit's like, look at the fucking sign. Like,
yeah. I think it was just one sign, and the rabbit pulled up the sign and was like, look at this sign. And then when she finally doesn't look at it, he's like, fuck this, and like stabs it into the ice, and he's the one who causes the accident.
Right. Let me exaggerate a little bit with my three signs. No, I did that with when we did Pirates that came out a couple of weeks ago with our good friend Ronvald the Scald. But I made a claim about a scene in there where I was like, this thing just completely disappears, and I was like, shit, now I gotta watch that scene just to make sure I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't.
Okay.
That thing does disappear, but I do that when I recall movies. I exaggerate the things that irritate me,
and then I correct you and irritate you more.
No, you don't. You don't. You know you don't. But that's really Once Upon a Wonder Time. There's not really much to it. Obviously, we don't remember the lyrics, the music. We just remember, for me at least, I just remember the animation. And it's simple. It's not, there's nothing crazy about it. It's just like simple drawn figures, like people with their pointed up noses, and everybody's elegant looking.
They do have pointed up noses. Though I would say, like, not a particularly strong opener.
Mm-mm.
I would say that there are probably 3 that are stronger than it, but the one I also really hate. So we'll get there. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about Once Upon a Winter Time. Like you said, it was pretty simple. That Bumble Boogie.
Woo, yeah.
That Bumble Boogie. I honestly keep on forgetting about this one too, but every time I watch it, I am enthralled by it.
It's interesting.
It is fun. It is a bumblebee running away from musical shit.
Yeah, I wrote down a little bumblebee trips acid and fights musical nature.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like he goes, or she goes to a little flower, gets some nectar, and then the world gets fucking trippy, man. Like, right. The flowers are emitting song notes.
There is at one point where the flower that he went to get nectar swallows him.
Oh, yeah.
Spits him up, and then it's a piano, like a circular piano.
And when it spits him up, doesn't it spit him up and he's like blue, or her, and he or she is blue?
Yeah, I think they did change color.
Yeah, it's definitely just an acid trip with a bumblebee, and I was all for it. I did write down the music is Rimsky-Korsakov's Flight of the Bumblebee, and it's performed by Freddie Martin and his orchestra. Right. Shout out to them.
And it was a swing jazz variation.
And I was all for it.
Yeah, I loved it. And I also like the boogie. I used to know the boogie woogie on the piano, but I would say not anymore.
I used to know the boogie woogie in my booty woody.
Oh, okay. But then they took your third and fourth legs, so.
Oh yeah, those bastards. Yeah, again, not really much to say about Bumble Boogie. Bumble Boogie,
yeah. No, not really. Yeah.
It's just a fun little story. Like, we're just gonna zip through all these, and that's fine.
But because they are quite a few of them, and a lot of them really just aren't that memorable.
Oh well, we're back. We didn't take breaks. Moving on from Bumble Boogie, we have the legend of Johnny Appleseed, which This is another Disney film that I don't think I've ever seen before. Maybe I did when I was real young, but this is the one short that I have an attachment to. Well, I have many attachments to Johnny Appleseed, mainly Indiana. Hello, home state. But the other thing is he sings a song in this. It's a very Christian song, and I'm not gonna sing it, but he sings a song. And my grandma used to sing that to me and my brother when we were kids, like when she was babysitting us, and we were at her house. And that was kind of her way of trying to put us to sleep, when it was time for bed. She would sing, and this was the one song that, and I didn't realize it came from. I know she told us many times that it came from Johnny Appleseed, but like I didn't realize it until I rewatched this short, and it gave me a nice little moment of pause when I had to pause the movie and cry a bit. Yeah, I miss my grandma, but this reminded me of her, and I was really happy that this something came from this little short film, or this patched together film.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the legend of Johnny Appleseed, and that's what this short is. It just tells the legend. He grew up. Well, I don't even know where he grew up. But he's famous for planting apples throughout Ohio and Indiana, and I think up into Canada even.
It does say, and just on this movie's wiki, mainly Ohio and Indiana.
Okay. Yeah, but he carried no knife nor gun, just a sack of seeds, and he planted trees. And he had a pot on his head, and he was the nicest man ever. He was a pioneer legend.
Yep, yeah, and then we have, in Indiana, we definitely have festivals to him.
I've been there.
Yep, they're pretty fun. I haven't been to one in years, so I don't know how it is nowadays, but
yeah,
it was good fun when we were kids.
Yeah, last time I went to I think it was the Trail of Tears in memory of that. But he invaded that one day where he came in. He done did tell one of his stories. He had a pot in his head, and he stood up there and he danced and sang us a story. That was the last time I went there, I believe, and that was a lot of fun to listen to. Just this wild hillbilly guy just like dancing up on stage and telling us a tale. This short is a lot of fun. And it's a nice, simple little tale, but goddamn, there's a lot of Christianity in it.
There sure is. But
I wasn't expecting that going into my Disney movie.
Yeah, it sure is. But I didn't mind it too much because in Johnny Appleseed's era, I mean, it was
more of a cultural norm.
Yes.
Yeah, there's more diversity in today's America, whereas back then it was a lot of Christians fleeing Christians.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of other people too, but they made up the bulk of it, I would say. And I'm not a historian, so if I'm wrong, go fuck you guys. No, if I'm wrong, just correct me in the comments nicely, constructively, please. Love you.
Yeah.
Anyways, but no, this is the kind of I've said it before. This is the kind of Christianity I appreciate seeing. I don't like seeing what Christianity has become and, a lot of, what it's developed into. But Johnny Appleseed is a good Christian in that he is good literally to everybody.
Right.
There's nobody that he came upon that he had any ill intent for. Bear comes up upon him. Oh, hello, Mr. Bear. Why don't you have an apple with me? I just planted this seed.
Please don't kill me.
Yeah, and the bear's just like, food. Okay, he's offering me food. Sure, he means me no harm, so I'll just eat food with him. And like, hey, he's just the kindest soul, and that's what true Christianity is about. If you actually, I'm not gonna get religious. I'm not gonna go into it, but that's what this is the kind of tale that I still enjoy seeing it, despite the heavy amount of religion that was pushed through it.
Yeah, there's definitely the strongest message in it is, I would say, neighborly love, probably, and and I do think that that's one of the more desirable traits of Christianity.
I would say it's one of the more desirable traits of humanity.
Yeah, everybody be nice to your neighbor. It's great.
You don't. What it all comes down to for me is you don't need a book to tell you how to be a good person. You can just be a good person.
It's very, very true.
Yeah, you don't have to have fear of God to be a good person. You can just have good qualities.
Yeah. You just be good to people. It's really not that difficult.
That said, I'm being very mean to people right now, and I apologize.
Well, in Johnny Appleseed, I do want to say, just in this little segment here, I do want to give props to Dennis Day because he plays the only two roles in this, which is Johnny Appleseed and Johnny Appleseed's guardian angel, who is this really, I think he's pretty funny. It's a completely different voice. I had no idea they were both Dennis Day. So
I honestly didn't either, but it makes sense now that I looked at it and realized I wrote only voiced and narrated by Dennis Day.
Yeah.
I completely forgot there was another character.
And he comes back at the end, and Johnny's an old man. He always speaks in rhymes, the angel does. I don't remember the rhymes, though, so I'm not going to repeat them. But he tells Johnny that he's done living this life, and Johnny's like, no, there's so much work to be done. I have to go plant more trees. And he's like, we need trees in heaven. And Johnny's like, well, what are we doing down here?
He's like, we're pretty barren of apple trees up in heaven. Yeah,
and it's delightful. I like it.
Yeah. It's one of the better stories throughout the entire film, I would say.
Oh, definitely. It's one of the better shorts, honestly, in all of these package films, I think.
Yeah.
Personally.
Oh, yeah, I can agree with that. I am also attached to it because it reminded me of my grandma. So, I would agree with that statement.
Yeah. And I think maybe because we're Hoosiers, we do have...
Woo!
Woo!
Indiana! Yeah! I ain't got much home pride, but I got a tiny bit.
Yeah. So they do put up one of those placards at the beginning of this film. And
yes, they do.
I don't think the majority is for this Johnny Appleseed bit, but I did notice there were some fairly stereotypical depictions of Native Americans.
Yeah.
But it is this nice scene where they are as equals sharing in a picnic of apple pastries and shit like that and doing a hoedown with people. And I have to say...
Apple pastries and shit. We're so good at this.
Yeah,
I hear the comments now. Bring Ronvald back. Bring Ronvald back.
Yeah. Anyhow, we will maybe. We might do that.
Yeah. Fun. Let's move on to my other favorite for a completely different reason. Other favorite short from Melody Time. Little Toot. All I remember is the song. I don't remember a lot like the lyrics or anything. I just remember the beat, little toot doo 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 doo.
The Andrews Sisters.
And it's based on Little Toot by Hardy Grammatke. I don't know what that is. But anyways, the reason I remember Little Toot, aside from the music, is that it's a little tugboat who's trying to make his father happy. But his psyche goes crazy every now and then. He's just like he gets antsy and he goes off and he's like, I gotta go around in circles and run and play. He's young, he's full of energy, and he murders hundreds of people by leading his boats into the pier and destroying this town. He just absolutely kills hundreds of people.
Like buildings are demolished, big huge freight liners in the streets.
His father is humiliated and like taken down from his tugboat position, and Little Toot is banished.
Yeah,
he goes riding out across the ocean, just like, oh, I'm so sad. And it's just like, that's it. That's his punishment. This little fuck just murdered people.
He's banished out to sea to get haunted by vampire buoys.
Ooh.
Those buoys honestly legit are kind of scary, like with that music and everything.
Right, that's what scared me, is how the Andrews Sisters continued during that segment. Like, ooh, it was so creepy at times, just hearing this. Just like, I mean, it's beautiful. The music is beautiful. The story is so fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
because it's like, what the fuck, Disney? Like. There's no denying it. Like he literally crashed a boat into a town.
There's like sirens and everything.
and then he's welcomed back as a savior. Like we haven't talked the movie 2012. Someday we will with John Cusack. there's one thing that really pisses me off about that movie, and it's that at the very end, he personally causes an issue that can kill hundreds of people. And then he solves the problem, and everybody's like, he's such a hero. He wouldn't be a hero if he hadn't caused the fucking issue to begin with, everybody. It cancels out. He's not a hero. He just did. He just corrected his mistake, and that's fine. And that's how it is with Little Toot here, is he murders millions. The number keeps getting larger. He murders millions, billions even, and he goes out and he rescues one boat from the storm and brings that one boat back, and everybody welcomes him like he's a goddamn hero. And I'm like, need we forget the trillions of people he killed back at the tiny city? It's crazy.
Well, that's
can't.
Little Toot. No, honestly, I really did like Little Toot. It is one of the ones that are actually memorable, like you said. I like the Johnny Appleseed one better. Honestly, I finished this a couple weeks ago, and then a week passed. Not even that long. I think it was like 3 days passed, and I was like, hey, I could do this, but honestly, I don't remember it. It was only like 3 days. So I had to go back, and honestly, like when I went to start it, the only thing I could remember was the Johnny Appleseed thing. That was it.
Oh, really? Yeah, I feel like looking back on it personally, all I remember is Johnny Appleseed and the Little Toot song. That's it. That's all I remember from this movie.
They're the worthwhile parts, for sure.
Yeah.
Should we move on then?
Yeah, let's move on to Trees.
Trees. I wouldn't say that this wasn't worthwhile. It is a poem called Trees. It's by Joyce Kilmer. This is performed by Fred Waring and the Pennsylvanians.
Yes.
It is about trees. It's cool.
Yeah, honestly, the only notes I took down was, one, more Christian references, and two, I took down a note on, when I researched it, apparently there was a unique animation style, or a first in animation, I guess, because this short, it was achieved by using frosted cells, which, again, cells are a single frame of the animation that they draw on. So they had frosted cells, which would just mean cloudy. It's not as see-through as normal. And they rendered pastel images on the cell, then laminated it in clear lacquer and photographed that. Lacquer, thank you. The drawings are beautiful. It does have a lively, like a warm... Yeah, there's like a warmth to it, because it's like when they show the trees at sunset, it's like it's a very beautiful image. Yeah. But there's not much to this little short, I forget it. I don't remember anything about it besides the little tidbit that I wrote down.
So...
Moving on. Blame it on Simba.
You just gotta blame it on the Samba.
Yeah, when I first looked at it, I literally read "Blame it on Simba," and I was like, no way.
Wow, we came in way earlier than I thought.
Right, I was like, what the fuck, Disney? That was a long con right there. But no. It's no Simba, it's Blame It on the Samba, and yet again we have some more creepy Donald Duck live action woman dancing and singing and playing music, and he doesn't hit on her that bad this time. It's not that creepy.
I do. So this also has Jose Carioca. No, they don't have the third Caballero, but they do have the Araquan bird. He was also in Saludos Amigos. So I'm thinking that this was something that was cut from that, and then they just dropped it in. Because, they talked about the Samba quite a bit. I can imagine that being something that happened since this... That's literally what they were doing. They were taking, like, scraps and throwing them together for these package films.
Yeah, because I did read that a few of them came from Fantasia originally.
Oh, really?
Some of these were planned for Fantasia. I think Trees.
Probably Trees and maybe the Bumble Boogie, because those ones don't have lyrics.
Yeah.
Well, Trees does.
Yeah, but it was more of like a musical story, so I feel like those were the two that I think I read that. But yeah, it's just a bunch of scraps tossed together, like you said.
So Blame It on the Samba, very much like those two movies with Donald Duck and Jose Carioca, is an acid trip.
Do you find yourself wanting to say Jose Cuervo?
I just want to make sure I don't say it wrong. He's not a tequila bird. I don't have that in my
My dyslexic brain, when it sees Jose C, it just immediately goes Jose Cuervo, and I'm just like, no, it's Jose Carioca.
I think that might speak more to your high school career.
Ouch. So we're just gonna bring up my alcoholic days, huh?
Oh no, you just drank less in undergrad.
I don't know what you're saying. I was not.
He was a good girl, good boy, Delma.
Good girl. He was a good girl. Damn straight. I was a good girl in high school, everybody. I didn't drink. I don't know what you're talking about. Speaking of good girls, the music is performed by the Denning sisters, I believe. The music's by Ernesto Nazareth, but it's performed by the Denning sisters. My notes could be wrong.
You could be right. I just remember Ethel Smith. Yeah, you're right. The Denning
She's
sisters.
the organist.
She's the organist. Okay.
That Donald, he doesn't hit on her too hard, but
not too hard. But she really does play the organ. And
oh yeah, and then the Araquan bird is like sneaking sticks of dynamite and shit underneath her feet,
like to blow him up. And like he's so okay. So there is a plot that we totally avoided talking about. So Donald and Jose, they walk into this restaurant that the Araquan bird just builds, and they're like really mopey about something. So another thing I wonder is like where this would be placed in either one of those two movies, you know?
Yeah. Probably after Donald got turned down by some lady.
Or maybe there was like a scene where the third Caballero got shot or something.
Oh my
like,
god.
They're like really depressed about that. And
then they just replace him with the Araquan bird?
Yeah, they replace it. That's right. He becomes the third Caballero. But, they might start considering it because he brings him to this good time, samba time. But then he starts trying to blow up everything. And, you know, at that point, you're like, okay, maybe we should stick with it. I liked Blame It on the Samba. It was weird.
They dove into like a vat of acid, and that's when the live action started. And it's like, once they dove into the acid, the LSD, if you will. And then, like, I saw her face, I think it was Ethel Smith's face started to appear. And I was just like, fuck, here we go again with this shit. Like, I know it must have been, like, really cheap for them to do this or something. But, like, I'm so tired of the live action stuff with Disney right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was cheaper back then because of how long it took because you could just film people. But yeah. You had to like paint each cell.
Yeah, I didn't really remember this one, and to transition to the next short with a closing statement, if you're okay with that, with Blame It on the Samba. There was a moment where my dog jumped down and was like looking out the window or out the door, I mean, and you know I laid down with her and the sun was coming in nice, and I was sitting there petting Zelda and laying in the sunlight. And Blame It on the Samba ended, and Pecos Bill began. And I remembered the intro of Pecos Bill, a young boy raised by wolves. Uh-huh. But it bored me so much, and the sun felt so good that I took a nice little cat nap.
There you go.
And I didn't bother rewatching it when I read up on it.
Well, yeah, I can do that. I guess then I will talk about Pecos Bill, and I'll keep it rather short, even though it was 22 minutes long.
Yeah, holy crap. That's kind of part of the reason why I didn't want to come back to it.
It was a good chunk of the movie. There's some pretty funny jokes about how Texas is the best spot and the only spot in the world. That's funny. This little girl asked all these cowboys who she's camping with for some reason. One being Roy Rogers. He's like the main guy there, but there's a lot of other.
Yes. And don't forget his horse Trigger,
the smartest horse in the movies.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can't forget about Trigger. But anyhow, the little girl asked why the coyotes howl at the moon, and they're like, well, that's because of Pecos Bill.
Pecos Bill,
thank you. What did I say? I don't know. Pecos Bill. And the little boy's like, is there cowboys? He's like, there sure is. And he says, I want Native Americans in it. And Roy Rogers, I shit you not, says, If you want them to, that's not it. That's not what he says. But pretty much, he gives the sentiment, we'll put him in there just because you're racist enough. That's really the feeling I got from it. And when they come up in the story, I just feel like it was completely unnecessary. It literally is one verse that was, I'll get there. Pecos Bill, raised by coyotes, like, and then he meets his horse Widowmaker.
Yeah, like what the fuck kind of name is that? When I read that on Wikipedia, when I woke up from my nap and realized I'd missed the entire short, and I looked up on Wikipedia and like I noticed his horse's name is Widowmaker. I was like, what the fuck? Who named that?
Pecos Bill, I guess. I mean, he learned how to speak English from coyotes, so
that's fair.
He becomes a cowboy because he loves his horse. That's pretty much
yeah
how they get there. Then one day he grabs a tornado and it blows through where some Native Americans live, and it's very, very disrespectful what it goes on, and it just wasn't necessary. And also, like, it really was, like, it felt like the storyteller was putting it in there just because kids like to see Native Americans get chased down by cowboys. It's not okay. And Disney is acknowledging that. But they also, I believe they had cut this out of the film.
Isn't there a moment where he's smoking again?
Yes. I think it's the same thing, because he uses the tornado's lightning to light his cigarette.
Disney and their cigarettes and racism.
Which, I don't actually have any which way about the cigarette stuff. I don't care, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you don't want your kids smoking at a young age. Just say, oh, that person's smoking a cigarette. It's not really cool. In fact, it causes cancer. And hopefully that's enough to stave them away. But in the long run, they're going to make their own decision. But we don't have to expose them to racist things.
No. Well, I mean, even when I was a kid in my gym class, we would play that game, Cowboys versus, I'm going to say, Native Americans.
Yes. Yes.
And it's weird to think that, that's still one group that we just continuously shit on, and it's like, what the hell? Like, yeah. I mean, again, this was the 30s, and it's like, it's weird to talk about a movie in the 30s and complain about it, because that is, in the times. Yeah, I'm not gonna make that excuse for him, but
I think it's 48. But yes, same thing.
That's where I'm at with it, though. Is even though it was in 1948, I was still playing that game at the end of the 1990s. Right. Like, it's right. We haven't come anywhere on the matter.
No. In fact, I definitely feel that Native Americans have a lot less representation in our media than they did when we were kids.
I do think there have been, like, tiny progresses that aren't actual progresses, but like changing sports teams' names, like, it's something. It's something. It's a step in the right path for society as a whole to start being more respectful.
Right. Definitely. I don't know how much to say about it, because I'm also, not extremely educated on the matter, but it is something that I honestly think about quite a bit. Is just like, this land that I was raised on was not my ancestors' land to raise me on.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it, and it's, our nation does not reflect that today. It's something that we just keep on shoving under the rug, just like other factions of racism, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't want any violence to befall any peoples, but I do hope that comes to a head, like our racism towards black people and other people of color has in these past couple years. I hope that really gets some progress.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of this you want to keep, but anyhow,
I think for
Pecos Bill. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna wrap up, honestly. When it comes, if you're okay with that. When it comes to melody time, I think if push comes to shove, I would say The Legend of Johnny Appleseed is the best of all the shorts.
Yeah.
And I would say stop watching after Little Trees, or after Little Two. Stop watching after Little Two, unless you want a nice little poem, and then watch Trees. But you can stop after Little Toot and call it a day and not watch the rest of it. Right.
Well, I personally liked Blame It on the Samba, but it is weird.
It's just
Blame It on the Samba is the one that feels like it doesn't fit the most.
yeah.
Probably because it has these other two characters that we've seen in two films where they were like the major characters of the film.
Right. I'm just tired of fucking Donald Duck.
You're tired of Donald Duck.
I'm tired of him, man. He is like I don't get the popularity of his character at this time period. I'm sure the shorts. I mean, we're not watching the shorts and everything, so I'm sure those are much more enjoyable. But from what we've seen of him, Mickey, and Goofy, the only thing I've actually enjoyed out of them was the last one, whatever the last one was called.
Melody.
No, Fun and Fancy
Fun
Free.
And Fancy Free. This is Melody.
Yeah, that little short right at the beginning when they're all fighting over a single bean. That's the only time I feel like I've ever enjoyed these characters in any of these movies. And it's weird knowing how popular they are even in my childhood, they feel like much different characters then because it feels like they've developed them more.
Oh yeah, they're completely different. Besides maybe Mickey. Well, Mickey's less of a troublemaker than he used to.
Careful what you're saying, man.
I guess closing statement. I don't know. Did you give it a star rating?
Oh, I give it 2 stars. It's standard Disney wartime era. Just stamp it 2 stars, call it a day, push on. You don't have to go out and watch this. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I'll give it. I'm tempted honestly to give it no face, except for I really enjoy a couple of the shorts. I really enjoyed Johnny Appleseed, Little 2, and Blame It on the Samba, really. Even though I thought it doesn't belong in it. But I'm going to give it half a face because it definitely doesn't deserve a full face. So sorry if you're out there and you really like this movie, but the Pecos Bill thing really just took it down for me.
Yeah, I'm happy I took a cat nap. Again, I woke up... Well, first off, when... What was the fucking short before this called? When Blame It on the Samba ended, I looked at how much longer was left, and I was like, 22 minutes? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, we've just done 6 shorts, and this last short is 22 minutes long. And it started, and then, like, the sun just felt so good. And, I was like cuddling a little bit with Zelda and just like patting her belly, and she was really enjoying the us time together. And so I was like, oh, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna fall asleep in the sunlight and just not even watch this whole short. And that's what happened. So I'm sorry if you're out there and you really like Pecos Bill and you aren't happy that I gave it a good shot, but
hey, you know what, maybe like they grew up with it without that one scene in it.
Maybe.
Because honestly, when that's taken out of it, it's decent. It's fun.
Yeah.
The story with it, I didn't even talk about Slewfoot Sue. She comes in riding a catfish, and that's kind of awesome. Like this giant ass catfish, and they fall in love at first sight, but Widowmaker hates her. So Widowmaker causes like this accident, and she gets like she keeps on bouncing back and forth until she lands on the moon. That's the story.
Huh.
So, if they cut that one part out, it's a pretty good bit. It's like funny cowboy stuff.
Yeah.
But
I hear you, man. I'm with you.
Yeah. It was, I think the setup of it is really what added on to it, because it sounded like they weren't even going to add that verse to the song until the little boy said, I want Native Americans in it.
But that's melody time, and we only have one more wartime era Disney film left, and then we know
it's only 2 shorts. At least I'm pretty sure it's only 2 shorts. I've watched this one.
Thank the Lord. Yeah, I don't know if I've seen it. It'll be one of those things where when I'm watching it, I'll be like, oh, I get it. I'll be like, I did see this when I was a kid. But Mr. Ichabod? No, it's Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Thank you. Yeah, we're getting there. One more, and then we'll take another Disney break, and we'll explore some other playlists, and then we'll get back to the good Disney films.
Yeah. We're a little stressed out with the Disney. Maybe not stressed out is the wrong word. Spread thin.
Spread thin.
That's good.
There hasn't been much drive to just keep doing the Disney playlist or the James Bond playlist because we haven't been into the movies much. But I feel like the next era of Disney is where I'm gonna be into it, where I'm gonna be like, dude, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the next playlist.
It's my childhood.
Yeah.
We're doing my childhood on podcast now.
Right? It's like, I know I can talk about this. I'm ready for it.
And we still wouldn't have been born for many years.
Right.
But that just is why. That's why Disney films
Parents had the VHS, damn it.
are held in such high regard. Yeah, because they had several eras of very good movies, just not this one.
Actually, this one, to be honest, this one made quite a profit, I believe. It did pretty well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe this one did pretty well in the theaters.
I mean, like I said, there's some really strong pieces in it. Like
Yeah.
Little Tug, The Legend of Johnny Appleseed, even Pecos Bill is a pretty strong short, just one bit of it.
Just one bit.
I hate.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Goldfinger, you know, it's just one tiny thing that's not tiny, but you know what I mean. One small segment of the film just completely ruins everything.
Right.
And it's just send it back to the writer's block, tell them to be like, this is good, except for this part. Fix this part, and this will be great. And that's all you need. You just need another draft.
But it was too late, and they were too racist.
Yep. I have been the Green Traveler from Gorge.
And I am the Faceless Leon. I remember that I'm telepathic. Safe travels in your night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of Fiction Works 19. If you like the show, please show your support by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Like, follow, subscribe, wherever you might listen. We also now have a Patreon account. If you feel so inclined to support us in a financial manner, please become a patron by visiting patreon.com/greenandfaceless. You can also find more information about us on our Facebook account or on the FictionWorks19 Instagram account. Thank you so much for listening.